too. Look at that.
Clean. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like,
All right.
screw it.
We're
If I
taking
could do
over.
it
Nothing
too, I
matters.
would.
We're
A couple weeks
outnumbering.
ago, I had a
Alright.
big ass mustache, everything, you know. We're just
Alright,
trying things out, you know.
We're back. But this is a live Q&A with the cast and some of the crew of Witness Infection. And I don't see anything in the chat window, but that was a wild ride for sure. I'm just gonna say it. That was a wild ride. One of the things that we loved about the film was that it just looked like everyone was having a ball when you were making this film. We are fans of Reno 911, of course, and so we were really excited to see Carlos and Jill. And we're surprised when we were looking at the credits, because often when we view submissions, we will kind of just watch it and then take a look at the credits and all the director statements and all that stuff afterwards, and realize that like, oh, well, they actually wrote this screenplay as well as like put this all together, and then dug down and found your crowdfunding video.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that go for you?
The crowdfunding, I think we made a few missteps. I mean, there certainly was the passion in terms of the finances that came in. We certainly could have done, I guess, a little bit better, but there was enthusiasm there. Like Spencer said, there was enthusiasms. We had a lot of enthusiasm. You know, mostly it was self-financed by myself and my wife, and the crowdfunding though did help us with extra costs of editing and coloring and, you know, pickup shoots and stuff like that. So in that sense, it went well. And it got people involved, and we have a witnessinfection.com, and we're getting ready to get back to our donors and give them the prizes and the t-shirts and the DVDs as we approach distribution and all that sort of thing. So I would say in a nutshell, it went pretty well.
Nice. Oh, I forgot to introduce you. So we've got Jill Michelle Million.
Hey guys, how you doing? I wrote, produced, and starred in this with my longtime colleague and I call him my brother, Carlos Salazraki. We met actually years ago at a film festival, and then I got to play his sister on Reno 911. And after that, we were just bonded for life. And then we toured together as stand-up comics. And I remember, Carlos, there was years ago, we were at this, an event, a Halloween event. And I said, we need to write a horror film. And he's like, yeah, we do. And then we made it happen. So, and I love Carlos so much. We're both in sync together, how we talk and everything. And this is the first of many that we'll be doing. So I'm very excited. Yeah.
Hopefully, yes.
So Carlos, you go next.
I'm Carlos Salazraki on the show Reno 911 from there. And I wrote with Jill this screenplay. I starred in it. I pushed cars at 3 a.m. for the poor man's process of driving. I picked up actors and producer and actor, and that's my involvement in the film. And Jill and I are writing some other things. And then I went about the business of selecting our director, and then meeting fantastic DP Philippe, hiring my friend Vince Donvito because I know he's amazing, and then Jim Ojala, who's an incredible special effects makeup person, and his own movie Strange Nature is out there in the ether. Please check that out. So I went about with Jill to assemble the cast and the crew, and that was my role. That's it. Later.
That's it.
So Andy Palmer as the director, why don't you go next?
Yay!
You're muted.
Where's Andy?
He's
Andy, we can't hear you.
Andy, unmute yourself.
Now he's muted.
Now he's remuted.
There he is.
No.
Mr. Andy Palmer, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
He likes a big entrance.
Yes, he does.
Well, if we're not hearing you, I can speak for you, Andrew.
Can you mouth the
Philippe
words?
can speak for you.
While we're getting Andy's audio up, I met Andy on a series called Clueless, which was based on the experiences of Renee Dorian and Ben Begley Jr., who's our first non-New York hunter in the movie. And then Andy subsequently went on to direct a movie called The Callback, which Vince also starred in. Reno 911 style with Mindy Sterling and Cedric Yarbrough and many others, Robert Peters. Andy, I hope your audio works. But Andy also used myself to work on. Philippe, did you DP Funhouse Massacre as well?
I did that one as well, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm basically around to make sure if Andy is slacking on something, I'll just fill in for him. So I might have to do that tonight as well.
Yes.
Andy, what you might want to do is leave the meeting and rejoin again. That might
Yeah, I think
audio.
if you exit, just leave the meeting and come back in.
We'll only say good
And
things.
make sure you choose the call in with internet audio.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, then we can't hear you.
I wonder if he can you hear us, Andy?
But another props to Andy is that Carlos and I actually we interviewed quite a few directors and we sat with them, and Andy just got it like right away. He got the comedy, he got the horror, he got everything that we were going for, because as you mentioned, Gwen, that it's a ride, and not a lot of people understand all the mashups we were doing, me and Carlos, in our twisted minds and what we wanted to accomplish. You know, we'd have one person that was just horror the whole time. It was like horror, horror, horror. And then we had somebody that was comedy, 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 comedy. And so Andy came in and he just got it. And I looked at Carlos and I was like, he's perfect. Like, he's everything we want. And then he had to deal with me and Carlos on set all the time. And he was so good with us, you know, and he's probably one of the best directors to work with. If any actor that's watching this right now has an opportunity to work with him, he is just so tremendous. And he really enhances you as an actor to feel safe on the set and to even have more fun with everything. So I just can't speak enough or more highly than, you know, Andy Palmer. He's just fantastic. And Philippe as our DP, he just made me look beautiful. Thank you, Philippe. I appreciate that.
I'll send you the invoice later on.
Okay, good.
But you know, going back to Andy, I mean, you talk about a gentleman who is kind and patient, and this was a 3-ring circus. This was a 30-ring circus. There was so much stuff going on, and Andy never looked flustered, and you know, always spoke to us with respect, and just always had great ideas and just really tangible notes as an actor. Sometimes you get the short shrift when you're working, and he spent the time, and I think really got the best out of us.
Okay, Andy, we've said everything about
Right.
you.
I know. I don't
You're
I
fiery.
didn't hear
I don't have
anything.
to talk anymore. I don't have to talk. Sorry. I have to join with my phone. My computer I was having trouble today on a Zoom, so I'm bummed. But
Yay, Andy
I'm
Palmer,
here.
everybody.
I'm here.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I directed all these knuckleheads, and I'm very happy to do so. I was able to put Carlos in a bunch of my movies, and he paid me back in kind. So that's it.
How about Andrew Scott Bell?
In all your movies.
Yeah, hey everyone. It's so good to meet you guys. Some of you guys I haven't met yet in person, but also just digitally, like Justin and Philippe. It's good to meet you all. I'm Andrew Scott Bell. I did the music for Witness Infection, and it was just, you guys made it easy. The writing, hilarious. The acting, everything made my job super smooth. It's great.
Yeah, the good stuff, the dramatic stuff, the dog groomer, the romantic stuff, the tension stuff, all the stuff, all the zombie attack stuff. It was great. It was really enhanced the film, and that was and Andy Pig, as well as Justin, who I'm sure you'll talk to as well. He really did some creative work with the Mr. Georgesman scene when our hero Gina has to whack him with a bat. He really took something that was really sort of simply shot, because we didn't have time, not because of you, Philippe and Andy, but he took it in and really enhanced it and made it special. So,
well, we had to work really quickly in that location because it was in Inglewood, and it was literally like next door to the airport, and every 3 minutes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Only the best.
We all had hair before that location.
This is a wig.
How about you, James?
Women can't get away with it. Yeah.
James?
Yeah, and then I'm Jamojula, special makeup.
Oh, I'm
effects
sorry.
You okay?
Yeah.
It says James Ojala. It's not her fault.
Yeah, James Ojala, special makeup effects for Witness Infection. So yeah, our whole team came in, and any of the pustules and crushed heads, all that stuff we took care of. And Carlos and Jill, we go way back. I know Vince through Carlos, going way back. Carlos and I used to be neighbors, and we've got to be buds. And I actually directed a piece with Jill and Carlos before, and we've just all stayed tight. And Carlos co-starred in my feature film. And yeah, like they came to me with this. I was like, I'm so in, whatever you need. And yeah,
I think just to add into Jim, what's really cool is that because somewhat we call it a zombie movie, it is special. It's not just a typical zombie movie because it's an infection. And Jim came up with this very unique look of looking like more like an infection as opposed to just the typical zombie look. And when we were on set and he was showing us all his takes, I didn't even tell you, Jim, in person, because there were so many running around with so many different hats we were playing. But it was just like, yes, like every person that we brought onto this film took it to the next level. And because we've known them, we've worked with them in the past. And that's the beauty of being in this business for a long time. And when you're ready to create your own things, you hire these people that you really trust, and they take what you thought was good and make it great.
Yeah.
So thank
I
you.
know he's not here tonight, but one of Jilly's friends, Greg Armstrong,
Yeah, super instrumental.
Our scenic designer, was unreal. I mean, this guy is a master craftsman, and he was just able to put together some things for us literally on the spot. And
most notably, Vince, was when the hunters are discovered by Rob and Gina and Vince in the car. That road had it was in Monrovia, right up the street from where the house in the Bird Box with what's her name? Forget it. Yes, but in any case, Greg and his assistant Alex, is it right, Alex?
Yes.
They built those street lights in a parking lot and then just erected them for that shot.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We froze, but they had a great lighting setup.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. Yes.
But was it filmed on location in was it Lake Elsinore? It was.
Yeah. And Murrieta was where the Lake Elsinore, Murrieta, and some pickup shots in and around here. If I'm thinking correctly, did we do any pickup shots in LA?
Yeah, the bar, and then obviously the road you were just talking about was LA.
Yeah, that's right.
For the most part, it was like 10 of the 15 days were in Lake Elsinore area.
Yeah. It was sort of like a Bond film with all of these exotic locations, except in in California. It was fine,
Yes.
But Jill is our Bond girl.
Yeah, and of course, Carlos and I picked the dates that it rains in LA. It never rains in Los Angeles. And we had to find ourselves as independent filmmakers dealing with shutting down production halfway, like in the middle of our production. And it was just a tremendous thing, because it shows you how when you hire people that you trust, how it all pulls together. Because in any other production, I'm sure it just would have gone haywire, but everybody just pulled, their strings and just made it all happen. So, I mean, there's so much appreciation across the board on so many different levels, and I just know that we're going to be better filmmakers each and every film. But just even for our first feature going out together like this, it was like, thank goodness we had this team of just awesomeness, if that's even a word.
Going back and speaking of the bar, Andy, I am correct in that you had tasked Justin with fixing the Mr. Georgeman scene. Is that correct?
No, I mean, he just came up with that on his own. Like it was, we shot like that. We shot like literally like a couple takes of one swing across the face and one swing over the head. And he came into my bay one day and he's like, I did a thing. And then he showed me and I was like, oh my God, this is fucking brilliant, man.
So you're not going to take any credit for that?
No, dude. That's. I'll take credit for being smart enough to bring another editor on.
How did you see that, Justin? I was just curious.
It was one of those moments in the movie that felt like it needed to be a moment, because it was like, because that guy's kind of a shithead at the beginning, and so it felt like her being able to like take out some frustration on him, and I wanted it to feel like, just to give it that oomph and that ridiculous violence that you can have in a zombie movie, and it felt fun. And I had like a temp track in there that was pretty fun, that like motivated me. And I think it was one of those late night edits where I was like, Andy, I have an idea. He's like, do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna try this. Thank God it worked.
I can't see me loving nobody like me.
Yep.
Not
Justin.
Not licensable for this film.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
The alternate soundtrack, Gwen, is amazing. So we'll show you that.
Is that going to be out on the double disc Blu-ray special feature?
Yeah.
Exactly.
The trunk sales Blu-ray. We'll slip it to you.
If we licensed all the songs from the scratch track, the soundtrack would have cost 900 times more than the movie cost.
Hey, if we can get a DVD together and by Saturday we could head out to Tulsa and sell it to 20,000 people.
Oh,
yeah, there we go.
Indeed.
So fun.
So we didn't get to Philip. You were the DP.
Yeah, I was a cinematographer on this movie. So I've done now 3 movies with Andy.
Yeah.
So this was the last one for now. So hope we'll do a few more after this. But Andy to kill off a lot of people in this movie. So hopefully I'm not one of the ones that get killed in the next one.
I'm just waiting.
Everybody.
And Justin, obviously you're an editor.
Yeah,
and I remember Carlos never made out alive in this movie, right?
How's that again? What was that?
You died. He's asking if you died.
Oh, I died. Yeah, I died.
Hey, but the beauty is that Carlos and I are the writers, so we can revive him or bring him back as a different character.
There might be a cure.
Yeah.
Is it more cowbell? It's more cowbell.
More cowbell.
More cowbell.
For more cowbell.
And Vince, you are wonderful in the film. And there's actually a question for you. And that is, was the shine box joke your idea?
Probably not. We're such huge gangster film fan aficionados, and I don't know, Carlos, can you help me out? I
think it was collaborative. I think it's probably something I thought I wrote, but in the way we riff and the way we talked about all the Godfather references and Goodfellas references, I think it's just something that organically came within the scene. I thought I wrote it, but
I remember because it was a collaborative effort with Jim Ojala also, because we knew what the gag was going to be. And then we all were talking about it. And these guys, they just riff constantly and quote different film movies all the time. So we're like, and that one, let's do that.
Yeah, because we knew we couldn't do the Luca Brasi because that involved a knife in the hand.
Right.
We sort of did a backwards Carlo Rossi. And so we needed another gangster reference film, which was Goodfellas. And since it happens at a bar and his head's on the ground and, they end up kicking him after Joe Pesci stabs him with a pen or something. Yeah. We thought about the go get your shine box gag, and that was great because Jim had a little wonderful surprise for Jilly on the blood spatter.
Exactly. Gwen, that particular shot was a one-time only, and Jim did one more pump in the air release, and Jill's reaction was exactly what it was. That was not acting. That was
a one take Charlie.
A face full of goop.
Ooh. Very natural.
But luckily, Jim gave me banana peels to eat, so it wasn't too disgusting in my mouth.
Exactly. Little known fact: mushed up bananas make wonderful brain matter, and it's edible. So yeah, it always looks great. And if you're splattering a wall, it'll always stick and do a slow crawl down the wall too. So bananas and blood, you're set.
Yeah. See,
Nice
we even give tutorials.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. No film school here.
There was a lot of
Just right.
There was a lot of freedom on set to improv and to sort of round out our characters, and just Carlos and Jilly, that's one of the reasons why they hired us. There's a lot of trust. So and like I mentioned before about Andy, he just said, there were times where he did have to pull back the merriment, but and he let us do our thing.
Yeah, for me,
I was going to ask how much was scripted and how much was improv, or if it was just kind of mixed.
Well, the whole thing was scripted. It's a full feature film, but the beauty is that Carlos and I wrote it with people in mind, and they were friends of mine. So we knew that if we gave them this, we would give them the freedom also to. And Andy was like, "Holy crap!" Like, it was just like we were just. Once we got on set, we kind of like felt it out in rehearsals. And then, and the beautiful thing about Andy is that he did let us have that freedom, because he knew that the people that we were hiring, we wrote for them, probably 90% of the cast. And we knew that they could take it to the next level. Yeah. So there's a scene with Gary Anthony Williams and Joseph Reitman, the two guys that look like Pulp Fiction that are in the car. And that scene was completely written differently, but the same intention behind it. And these guys came on board and they just started improvising. And Andy was like, "Great, let's go." So, and we were like, awesome.
To be fair, I made the producer mistake of telling the guys they could riff without telling Andy, so he's like, "I'm going to get my edits."
Yeah, I have a slightly different recollection of that scene. Being that we were shooting French overs, and we could only shoot one camera at a time, because we shoot most of our stuff 2 cameras so that we can improv, and I know that it's going to cut together and stuff. But that particular scene, we couldn't put 2 cameras crisscross in the car to get the French overs we wanted. And so I was like, "Okay, guys, so we're going to stick to the script for the stuff in the car. And then when you get out of the car, we're going to follow you with the Steadicam, and you guys can kind of riff and do your thing." And they're like, "Oh no, we were told we could improv the whole time, so that's what we're going to do." And I was like, "Well, that's another way to go."
Override.
And so I was like, "Well, I'm still going to get my French overs, so let's just see what the hell happens here."
And this is another important lesson, because people ask me, like, "Why didn't you direct it? Why didn't?" I said, "This is why," because I didn't realize the technicalities of how to shoot a film which has great practical effects, which has zombies and creatures and cast in 15 days, and you need somebody at the helm that knows how to drive the ship. And so that's a perfect example of that, because I would have said, "Whoa, what's French overs?" Denny's. Oh, y'all have the French overs Miami, please.
Can I get some syrup and some sugar on those French overs?
And then there's Philippe telling us very brilliantly, although we froze our asses to death, he looked at Greg Armstrong as the house. He's our set decorator and designer. We used his house for the Sorelli house for the dinner, and we thought, "Oh, we're going to shoot outside." And Philippe's like, No, I can't get the coverage I want. We're shooting outside." "What do you mean shooting outside?" And even though we almost froze to death and got hypothermia, it looked so much better than it would have if I would have been the director on the film, because I would have thought, "Well, I'm the director." It's like, no. I remember Andy and Philippe scouting locations that we wanted, and Philippe would go, "No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work." And then we'd go to another place. "I don't like it." And then Andy comes to me and goes, "Listen, Philippe and I have this thing. It's like a marriage. We fight, we argue, but in the end, it just works out okay." And I went, "You know what? I'm just going to stay out of it. They'll figure it out."
Yeah.
It's like a family therapist that just gives up. And goes,
I'm like the eternal optimist, and Philippe's the eternal pessimist. And so we're kind of this perfect storm when we're like location scouting and hunting for gear and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, it'll be fine. He's like, it won't work. I'm like, it'll be fine. It won't work. And then and then we just find a happy middle. We just find a happy middle.
And then us as producers, that's Carlos and I's face. And it works.
Everybody's hustling. Like we were shooting 3 other things at the house that night, and Jim Ojala's team is out there in a tent that they built up with tarp, and they're building the head for Brett Ernst, and literally putting it together that night. They're painting it. They're sewing the hair on. They're making the eyes. And I mean, for them to do it the night of, it was just incredible. I mean, the mold was already there, but you had to put on all those finishing touches inside the tent, and your crew was it was just amazing to watch. That's what I kind of knew as a producer, that let me just get the best people available for what our budget is, and hopefully they can do it and they're available. And so, yeah, when you got Andy and Jim and Felipe and Vince and all the actors, it's like, all right, here's our little package, and it works.
How many days were you shooting, and how many days did you prep?
Prep was super short. We probably had really just like a full week of prep, I think. I mean, we kind of like everybody sort of did it in their off time for for a few weeks leading up to it, but then it was kind of like 1 week of prep ish, and then we shot for 15 days. So
when he's lying, prep was like 20 minutes on a post. Okay, and then Andy took the post-it, made a paper airplane, and like threw it.
Well, I mean, but it was one of those things where it's like it had been a while since I'd done a movie. I've been lucky enough to do some bigger films where there was you have a little bit more staff and stuff like that. And I distinctly remember one day as I was doing a shot list with Philippe or something like that, and I get this call from our line producer that's like, hey, listen, so-and-so can't get down to Temecula today, but we have to get all these locations signed off on, so you're like the only guy. And I was like, oh, okay. And so the director just rolling down to Temecula to get every business within a certain area of all the places we were shooting, get them to sign off on the permits and race it over to the permit office and stuff like that. So it was pretty collaborative. That's for sure.
And I think, Gwen, I think that's the beauty of independent filmmaking, is that you have to be with people that are passionate, because there isn't that huge budget and there isn't that cushion. So everybody that was involved in this film was incredibly passionate, and they really believed in it. And we all really genuinely loved each other as filmmakers and producers and writers and everything. Everyone had each other's back. And it was such a tremendous energy on the set. And if there was a bad seed, they were gone in 2 seconds, which was just awesome to watch, because all our heads were friends, and they'd be like, they're out, they're out, they're out. And you're like, okay, everybody had each other's back. So you can see in the film, like what you said, it's a ride. And that's what it felt like, this ride. It was just this, everyone was having fun, everyone. So
yeah, there was one person who tried to double dip a chip. They were on right after.
I have standards.
Yeah,
standards.
I mean, we'll put up with a lot, but
I just couldn't take
no double dipping. Okay.
I couldn't take Philippe's disdainful eye, so I just wanted to behave. They're like, oh, you guys, come on.
Well, I work in post, so I was just double dipping all my chips and sitting by myself, eating alone. It's really boring, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry.
So there's been a couple questions about some of the members of cast. So there's a funny one, how much of Maurice LaMarche's wardrobe was already in his own closet? How much did you have to provide?
The pants might have been in the slippers, but definitely Erica Schwartz really came through with some really wonderful stuff, right down to my daughter Riley and her friend Jameson looking like little Lord Fauntleroy mixed with The Shining. But she put together Maurice's wardrobe for sure, and she's great, because it really just captured who that guy was. And I would say that the slippers and the pants, I think I could see Maurice owning the slippers and the pants, but not the little smoking robe.
Yeah, smoker's jacket. I was because we we wanted to like figure out a way to like separate the two families, you know. And so it was like, and so when I sat down with Erica, I was like, you know, the Sorellis are more like, you know, they're more of like the people and stuff like that. They got the, you know, and Carlos had always had the idea of like the fun jumpsuits and stuff like that. But I was like, but you know, at dinner it's kind of casual and stuff like that. But I was like, but you know, if they're gonna own a winery, you know, like he's gotta have a smoker's jacket. She was like, oh my God, all right, I'll find a smoker's jacket. And it was just like, but it was perfect. It was perfect when he put that thing on.
Yeah. Excellent. And then let's see. Oh, how did Rob Belushi get involved?
Jill and I originally wrote this movie for me to star in as Carlo. And we're looking at budget and thinking, okay, who's going to play my father? I talked to a casting director named Allison Bosch. I worked with her on some animated projects. She grew up with Rob while Rob was visiting the set of According to Jim. And she said, look, if you're going to try to get somebody to play your father, you're looking at Pauly Sorvino and all these people, too much money. Here's an idea. Why don't you play the dad and find somebody to be your son? And I know this actor. What about Rob Belushi? And I said, you know, I've met Rob at a commercial acting workshop with Tim Stoltenberg, who plays our salon help at the end, who meets his fate with Tara Strong's character. And Tim is amazing. But they taught a commercial workshop class together. And then Rob sent me this short film he did with Amy Carrero, who's a really wonderful actress. And Rob played this sort of nice white collar sadistic serial killer guy, really straight, really dramatic. And so when she said that, and I knew Rob from the class, I had his contact. At that point, Rob was trying to pitch that to feature to Blumhouse as a feature, the short. And I said, hey, we're making something. Allison, what do you think? And he said, yeah. So through a friend, serendipitously, I had met Rob maybe 3 months before, and it just happened. So that's how it happened. Sorry, so long-winded. But
That was fascinating. All the connections, like you never know, like who's going to know someone that you're going to be able to use in your film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually worked out because I think the dynamic of the three of us, it really complemented each other because Rob is more reserved. He like represents, you know, the audience, and how Gina's character, my character, is more more representing the audience too. And then we have Vince that is colorful, and then because the rest of the cast is so colorful that you needed somebody to see more grounding, you know, to happen. And when Rob came into play, it was just like the three of us working together was just, oh, Vince, stop hiding your face. I see. We just all worked well together. And of course, Vince and Rob had their own love affair on the set. And I had to endure that the whole time. But other than that, I had to play mother. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. The whole time.
Oh yeah, we should have saved that song for them because they worked out together. I can't see me.
Gwen, I'm going to tell you just a quick insider. We spent so much time shooting in the car. There was a lot of scenes in the car, and poor Jilly was dealing with between Rob's vaping and farting. It was.
I would open the door and hotbox you guys.
And Gwen, it was too cold to open the window, so I had to hear it the whole time. I was like, oh my God, you guys are lucky I'm a producer on this film.
I had the feeling about it.
If it had happened
that had a ring of truth to
shooting.
it. What was the most challenging thing for you to shoot? Just overall, do you think?
You guys think? Jim, you take that away?
I don't know. It's tricky. Everything. I mean,
Elite has an idea.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's different stuff. It was really like, it was just kind of like time. I think it was just time in general. It was just like, you know, just trying to get everything in a 12-hour day. But you know, we pulled off some fun stuff that you know, we do that big kind of opening shot with the big kind of opening oneer, and you get a sense of the whole town, and we back into the truck and people are getting their sausages, and then that drives us into the thing. That took like literally like 4 hours, but then we get it all in one take and you kind of move on and stuff like that. But like really, like everybody was so good. Like you would think like most times it's like the gags that go wrong or the stunts that go wrong, but everybody was just so on it. Big Dave Matty, our stunt coordinator, and Brian Early. And so like we were able to pound stuff out really fast. I mean, Jim Ojala, like, one take ace, man. Every gag worked almost perfectly on the first take every time. And so that was nice.
We kind of had to. I know taking off Brett's head was a complicated thing because there was a lot of moving parts. There were people hidden underneath the camera frame, puppeteering the body, and then people puppeteering the head and timing it with the actor to pull it off in time, and then also like tarping off this whole like bedroom or bathroom that we were in, because we're in a real location, like a really nice location, and we can't jack this place up with blood that may or may not come out of the walls. So that, and it was also kind of like a one take wonder thing. So that was complicated. Like it came out great, but it was a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. We stopped halfway. As I was ripping it up, we stopped halfway and I knew it was too difficult and Jim had to come in and score it a little bit.
Right, yeah, because we wanted to see the flesh of the neck pull and tear away. So you had to like stab it a bunch of times and pre-score it. But it's one of those where you don't want it too much, so it just comes apart like spaghetti. It's got to have some tension. So
I was really, again, not speaking of not acting, I was not acting. I was really struggling to get that head off.
No, I know you did great.
Release, and we did not expect the whole spinal cord to come out.
No.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. Nobody knew the spinal cord thing. Nobody even knew it because they brought it in.
Had a whole spinal cord to come out.
In a shirt, and so I was sitting behind the monitor, and when he pulls the head off, and the spinal cord comes with it, I literally audibly on set, I'm like, holy shit, did you guys like, I was able to see that? Like I had no idea.
Remember, Andy, I screamed on set and I was like, oh my God, because I went, ah!
That's such a rad moment.
It really is. Like,
yeah,
it was excellent.
Jillian and I were trying to think of zombie kills that we hadn't seen. Going back to the makeup and stuff, I love, and Jim and I talked about lederhosen zombies. Which are kind of fun. Dead Snow, obviously Simon Pegg's Shaun of the Dead.
There's so many that have been done, and then trying to figure out, we're all brainstorming like, okay, well, what about, like Joe was saying, like, okay, if it's an infection, can we go into boils and stuff like that? And then have, and some of the ones on her, we had them actually like pulsating and stuff, or on the other character, so we could do bladders and see them pulsating and rising and spewing out pus. And you're like, okay, so these are some elements we don't see quite so much in a zombie film. Yeah. And it really factors in with the comedy element,
Yeah.
Yes, it worked all very nicely together. Like that gross out factor really kind of sells it.
And the fact that it's combined, that it's all tied to sausage.
Yeah,
exactly. When I read that in the script, it was like, I'm sold. Sausage, and it's so extreme. I mean, it's so in your face throughout the whole film. The sausage aspect, it just starts to make you feel gaggy, and it's just perfect.
Did you notice smelly sausages with peppers?
Yeah. Did you guys notice Andy Palmer's? Oh gosh, what's the director?
Cameo.
His cameo, but oh my gosh, Psycho. The British
is Hitchcock. He's Hitchcockian. Yeah.
Hitchcockian.
I don't think Hitchcock ever took a sausage to the mall like I did. I got for nothing, but I went to town on that thing in my shot.
Then he would have been a great director.
So interesting story. Andy sends me this movie and says like, hey, do you know, maybe you want to score it? And he sends him the movie and I'm like, oh, cool. Like an Italian movie, like zombie movie. Like I'm going to order some food and like eat some lunch and watch this movie. So I order Jersey Mike's sub and it comes and I'm watching the first scene and the guy's like eating this sausage and it looks just like my food. And I'm like, I'm going to eat a salad.
Gwen, I want you to know that I have some sausage.
Oh, is that for me? How did you know?
Now, listen, we just coincidentally, at our last film festival, I cooked some sausage the day I didn't cook this the day of, but we happened to win that film festival. So for all of you people that are watching and your voting audience, we'll be expecting our trophy. Or okay,
in exchange for the sausage. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another trick of the trade is don't bring cookies, bring sausages.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Very good.
Just love double meanings in what
No,
you
I
said.
want to. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
You might not get a second date with that line,
Thank
but you know.
You're gross.
Bring in the sausage once again. Yeah.
I think it's late enough that flies, right? I think we're
That's
good.
okay. It's all fair game.
Late night Portland.
This is an adult.
That's right. This is the
We warned everybody.
We
this is
warned
the
everyone.
Portland Dark Festival.
Yeah.
Portland After Dark is what it is.
We do actually sometimes have like a not safe for work block because of extreme sexuality, or extreme just, you know,
We're doing one on
genital
Saturday night.
mutilation and
Yeah, kind of.
well,
We
it's
did.
gone
We
wild.
did have a scene that was very suggestive that Jillian and I wrote because we really wanted to make Patricia and Dominic kind of super low class. And I think Andy called it. We had a scene where she was going under the table and doing this to Dominic's lap, and we're like looking at it, and then she comes up shaking a bottle of like ranch sauce or ketchup for the sausage. And Andy's like, nah, it's a little, here we go, it's a little too on the head. And
well, it was funny. We shot it.
That scene out. I can't stop. I'm sorry.
Is it we shot that scene though, because like is Justin, you're still on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you and I like we went back and forth a lot on it. Because like it was in the first cut. And it's a funny moment. It is a funny moment. But there was something Justin and I just kept talking. There's something so like genuine and funny about Rob's delivery when he's talking to Patricia, because it's so heartfelt. And then he puts his hand on the priest's shoulder, you know, and it was like it was so funny on its own and just kind of like such kind of a sweet moment, and then it just goes off to the haywire. That if you see like the ranch bottle gag, it kind of sucked that moment out. So we ended up cutting it out. But it was funny. It was just like that was like one of those happy accidents, like when Rob delivers this like very impassioned speech, and you're like, oh, let's just ride that thing out as long as we can.
Yeah.
And
were there other scenes that you had intended to put in the film that kind of were cut out for you know, flow and pacing and mood?
Yeah, I mean, nothing huge. Nothing like I don't think there's any like full scenes left out of the movie. But I mean, Justin and I we came up in both like in reality editing and stuff like that, and we're very like we're pretty mean, you know, like we're pretty mean. I mean, the movie is very lean. It's like 80
very
minutes
lean movie.
Yeah, so we don't leave a lot of fat.
Yeah, Andy helped us a lot with that prior to shooting, because we had a tight schedule, and he was just like, that's not going to work. This is going to work. That's not going to work. And he worked with Philippe, and they really nailed down what could realistically be accomplished. And because we were pushing so much so fast, and Carlos and I had faith in the actors, knowing that they could deliver pretty quickly. So Philippe and Andy really everything was tight. And we just like, it was almost like shoot to edit. Like they had their mind frame like that. And that's why we not only adore Andy and Philippe, but we're so appreciative because they understood that, because since Carlos was our executive producer, because just a backstory, we had heat on this film, and it came to a point where Carlos stepped up as executive producer because he realized that we have something special. And he was like, and because he was like, I'm going to go ahead and fund this film. And we were all so honored. So we respected him as an executive producer, and we didn't want to waste his money either. So we wanted to make sure that we were so tight in moving forward. So like the whole team was like shoot to edit, shoot to edit, shoot to edit. So it was fast, but it was all very, very precise also.
Yeah. I remember asking Andy, why we wrote that hunter scene to be at night. Why can't we shoot it at night? He's like, because you can't afford to get two big cherry picker things and light this forest up. That's why I'm shooting during the day. I'm like, oh,
it's always those things where you don't think about it, because it's like it's so clear in your head, and then and Philippe has probably taught me that more than anybody. Is just like, I can light two people in the woods, but then they just disappear into blackness, so it's and that doesn't look good. So it's like we either throw an 18K through the trees, or we shoot this in the evening, and really it didn't hurt the experience at all,
Right.
Yeah.
And then we were still facing the challenge of like shooting during the day. Like, oh my God, we have to hurry up. It's getting night now.
Yeah.
So
Sun's going down.
remember the last shots were like we have patches of sunlight left, and we have to move in the forest from patch to sunlight just to get the scene done.
Yeah,
I think
it's just like one more take, and then literally when Andy called and cut, the sun just disappeared, gone.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing nights that I thought was a true collaboration was the hunter scene at night in the park. You have Greg building the lamps with Alex in a parking lot, constructing those. You have Amber and Megan only, from Jim Ojala's team. Amber applying full makeup to both Ryan Bottaglieri and Ben Begley, our two hunters. You have Greg mounting the deer head to a camera first, then taking that off, putting a deer carcass by the hunters, then taking that deer carcass and attaching it with thread, like a plastic thread, to the car. And then we threw a birthday party because Ryan and Ben Begley Jr. on that night both had the same birthday, so we got 2 birthday cakes. So it was just this amazing dance of like everybody's doing everything at full speed. And that's the night I was shaking the car at like when everybody left. Like there was one scene left with maybe Jill in the car. And
it's Jill. Yeah, Jill and Rob and Vince. Yeah.
That was the same night that Vince was farting and Rob was vaping. So there you go. Yeah. Full circle.
That night was really emblematic of what it meant to be independent, small budget feature, all hands on deck, make it work. Because we got this one night in Monrovia. It was one of our most expensive locations, but Andy had gone to scout it before it was raining, and then 4 days of rain came, and so we had a river in the background, which actually slightly enhanced the experience rather than ruined it. But we had this park ranger sort of room that really benefited us because we could do craft service and our meal in there and throw a birthday party and do the zombie makeup in there. And it had clean restrooms. So we just, even though that location cost, it was really worth the price to, otherwise we couldn't have gotten it all done, I don't think, had it been a different location.
Was it open air for the farts and the vaping too?
No, I was in the car.
In the car.
No, the ranger station for or was the birthday party farts and vapes too?
Oh, the birthday party was actually clean. That was
you
good.
have to blow out the candle somehow. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Well, I was, I don't know if this has been covered because I've been running around, but I'm really curious about this location of Lake Elsinore. Like, is there a mob presence there that I don't know about?
No.
Or was it convenience?
The whole story with Lake Elsinore is the script was written for Jersey. Like they were 2 Jersey families and everything like that. And when Carlos brought it to me, I was like, okay, so what are we looking at budget wise? And he goes, this is what we're looking at budget wise. And I was like, awesome. We're not going to Jersey for that. Like I was like, that's not enough. And so Jill's good friend, Greg Armstrong, our production designer, lives out in that area outside of Lake Elsinore. And so she was like, he knows everybody and we're going to be able to get locations and all this stuff. And so we started scouting down there. And so after the first scout, it was very much decided, like, we are not going to like double this for Jersey. I was like, we're just going to write it that there are 2 mob families that got witness relocated to Lake Elsinore. And that'll be funny because everybody else is all decked out in their Lululemons and everything like that. And there's these 2 weird mob families that don't belong. And then they went and wrote it all out. And I was like, yes, this is amazing. Let's just do this, So that was
let's not forget about our free location in the winery when Greg's friend, who we thought owned the winery, but his dad pulled up in the middle of shoot and was like, hey, what are you guys doing here?
What?
Okay, so let me explain. So a friend of my very good friend, Greg Armstrong, the production designer, owns a winery. But it's actually his family owns the winery and he runs the winery. So we talked to him and he was like, oh my gosh, yes, we're going to shoot it. You guys, this is X amount of dollars is all you have to take care of, blah, blah, blah. And we're shooting and the father rolls in and he's like, what's going on? In the middle of shooting. And we're like, did your son not tell you like this? And he's like, no. And then we had to explain, but anyways, it ends up being great. He was like very proud and the winery is very proud. And I'm sure like in the next, like after our film is distributed and everything, we're going to have beautiful photos of shooting there in the winery. But we were all like, holy crap, what is happening right now? Are we going to just shut down production? And I'm just like, no, gag him, put him in a car. We're going to keep going.
Shoot that.
Yeah, just get it. Go, keep going.
That's funny. Pretty much every feature cast crew that we've talked to so far has been on the verge of shutdown at least one point.
Yes.
Because of unauthorized location usage.
It never changes. Like, it doesn't matter what budget level you're at, because it's like if you're at a very low budget level, you're more than likely like guerrilla shooting somewhere you're not supposed to be and stuff like that. And then you get to that next tier, and then the union wants to flip you. And then you get to the next tier, and some SAG paperwork didn't come in right, and then they're like, we're gonna shut you down. I mean, there's not one movie on Earth that doesn't just almost suffer a shutdown at some point. It's just like, it's without fail. It's like, it's just inherent with the business. It's crazy.
Well, I think our viewers are going to be talking about this film for a while. And we're curious to know if there's plans for distributing it on home media or online, or what's next for Witness Infection.
We are on the cusp of distribution. We are looking at 2 different options right now, and as soon as we decide which one serves us the best, we'll go with that. But that is going to happen fairly soon. So we have quote unquote an ace in the hole right now that we can go to, which is sort of combining 2 different companies. I'll keep it vague like that. And then we have another option that we're exploring, and we are almost there. On the cusp.
But we will let you guys all know on witnessinfection.com. We'll let everybody know. But we're very excited about this film, and we're happy that all the audience has had great reviews and they love the ride and they can laugh. And I'm so honored because there's been a couple of times that people have said if John Hughes made a horror film, this would be it. So, and that's huge for us. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I love that. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. The people that are tuning in and that watched it, I really hope you guys felt that way.
So Jill's been working on her pencil mustache process.
Yes. Pretty in Pink's hot dogs.
Yes.
So how many sausages did you have to eat during the shoot?
Andy, you got to tell the story of the opening sequence, because that's so gross.
Oh yeah. Okay. So to answer your question, I don't know how many sausages were eaten, but many sausages were produced, and I mean it was a smorgasbord of sausages. I personally ate like a lot, and I mean Vince, but one of the funniest, the most ironic stories is that the opening scene of the movie is like, we were way out in the middle of the woods and the sausages were not getting to us on time. And so Ryan Bottiglieri had brought his lunch. And so he just kept eating the same sandwich over and over and over again for all the scenes. And it was really gross.
Yeah.
And there is also is that there was the sausage that we were in the trucks and trying to prep for like just pickup scenes, and it didn't look good on camera. So Greg, our set designer, actually spit all over the sausage to make it look glazy.
This is pre-COVID movie sets.
Yeah, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Will not fly now. Yes.
But only because of the pandemic.
Just that sausage would have to be quarantined now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Burn it,
Gablione
burn it.
plantain.
Sorry.
But there was this great Italian restaurant in I don't know if it was Elsinore or just outside of Elsinore that kept providing all of the like I'm sure they were like, man, I don't know what's going on over there, but we are killing it right now because we were just getting these trays of Italian food every night. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like every time we were at Greg's house, like just in the kitchen, there was always big plates of sausages everywhere.
Right.
All the time, day and night, sausages everywhere. It was crazy.
It was literally a sausage factory.
It was the biggest sausage fest you could imagine. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was in a horror film constantly outside of filming because I'm vegan. So I was
Yeah.
Right.
This whole
Oh no.
No.
this whole movie is a metaphor for Jill's veganness. I don't know. If you guys,
I told you about the sausages.
yeah. Like,
Don't eat
yeah.
it.
told you.
Actually, that's something that I forgot to ask in the beginning. Is like, what was the kind of the start of the idea for this story? So you met up and decided that we should make a horror film.
Yeah.
How did you decide on this particular
I had
storyline?
a notion that I always wanted to mix the genres because I love The Sopranos and I love horror, and Jilly was of the same vein. And I said, just had a shell of an idea. What about if we had some sort of family setting, a couple of, Italian families going to war, and there happened to be an infection. And then Jill says, well, I've got some ideas. And then what made it so easy to write all the characters is I had Vince in mind to play Vince. Carlo was me, but basically Rob could handle that. Jill knew that she was Gina, so she wrote for herself. We knew that Maurice LaMarche, or it was going to be Maurice or John DiMaggio, was going to play Mr. Sorelli.
Right.
Brett Ernst was going to be Dominic. I knew Ben Begley and Ryan Bottiglieri could be those hunters. We just knew who could play what. So it was easy to write for those people because we knew who they were.
And also Carlos and I were huge fans of Shaun of the Dead. So we really wanted to take a different take on Shaun of the Dead. And we were like, how can we do that, mashing up that kind of Goodfellas and Shaun of the Dead and make it a little bit differently. And then that's when we started thinking of, like, instead of just zombies, what if it's an infection that takes over? And then of course, like, I'm vegan and I'm like, oh, what if they eat like really something bad? And then we started like coming up with that. And then it all just like came into play. And I mean, and Carlos and I, we worked together so much and we just had so much fun coming up with all these different ideas, and it fleshed out so quickly because we're just like, we kind of like our minds are in sync. And when we write, and then Andy came in, made it even better. And then all the actors made it even better. So it was just like, boom, 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 boom. It was, just years of friendship, I think, is what made this film happen and made it so great.
Yeah.
Nice. So the ending, you kind of see like a woman in the food truck who seems bent on revenge. Is there going to be a witness infection too?
We hope so. That's up to you guys.
Why not, right?
We are writing something totally out of this genre right now, but as soon as that first draft is done of this other genre film, Jillian and I have, and Andy and I talked about it, an idea for where we can take the sequel of and sort of feature some of the same cast possibly. And yes, we have a good idea of where we want to go.
Well, we should probably start wrapping up, right?
Yeah.
It's late. It's late.
It's well after midnight. I can see people fading a little bit. I did want to ask, did Carlos and Andy, did you guys meet on Funhouse Massacre?
You were away. I met Andy on a series called Clueless, which Ben Begley plays our hunter Thorn. Thorn. Ben and his wife Renee Dorian wrote the series based on their experiences doing live theater, in immersive theater for people. And so I met Andy on that project, and then we ended up doing 2 or 3 more projects. Then I did Funhouse Massacre, and then that's how our relationship gestated.
Yep.
But grew.
Well, now is probably the time when we ask you guys, what do you want our audience to know? Where can they find you? How can they follow what you're doing and your upcoming projects?
Well, you can go to witnessinfection.com. We'll keep you updated on this film and where it's going to be distributed. And then from there, you'll see all our names on that site. You can follow us all on Instagram and Facebook and all of that. I know all of us are very much hands-on on social media. So if you write us, we will write you back personally. It might take us a couple of days, but we are so hands-on with our fans. We know how important it is to have that close communication, because you guys are what makes us successful to continue to pump out these films. So we appreciate you so much.
So yeah, very quickly, at Carlos Alazraqui on Twitter and Instagram, witnessinfection.com. That's where you can find me. Anybody else?
I'm at Director Andy Palmer on Instagram, and at Petri Andy, Petri Andy on Twitter. So yeah, come and ask questions. And like Jill said, I'm quick with the Twitter thumbs, man. I'll fire.
And I'm at Jilly Online on everything, JILLY online. Jim?
And I'm at Ojula FX on Instagram and Ojula Productions on Facebook. And we also have a really cool YouTube channel, just Ojula Productions. So yeah, check it out.
Check out Strange Nature. The film.
Yes, and check out my feature, Strange Nature, co-starring Carlos.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I'm at Big Sausage. Kidding.
Sausage.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom, if you're listening. She's not. At vincedonvito.com and all that great stuff.
And Philippe?
Oh, I just have my my work on a website. It's philippefandewall.com. I mean, couldn't find anything more original, but if you want to check out my work, you can just watch Andy's movies.
Yeah.
That's true.
Justin?
Cool. Currently, I'm working on a USA show that's going to be airing next month called Cannonball. So if you need to turn your brain off and not think about life and everything crazy happening, go ahead and watch that. And I created a bunch of goofy stuff.
Yay. Andrew, take it away.
I'm working on the upcoming untitled queer horror doc for the Shudder streaming network. It's really fantastic. I can't wait for it to come out. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Andrew Scott Bell.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for joining us and staying up so late with us to answer all of our questions. And it was really fun hearing you guys chat.
Thank you guys for having us. And I want to say that Portland was literally the first festival that we applied to. Selfishly, because I love Portland. It's my favorite city, and I so wish we could be up there with you guys. But we're just gonna make another one of these movies and hopefully get in so we can come up and see you guys.
Yes, please do.
It is, I think I said this on the last Q&A, but it's one of the things we love about being here in Portland, besides it being an amazing city, is that the theater we use, the Hollywood Theater, is just the most beautiful theater you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I wish we could all be in it right now. Of course, they would have chased us out a long time ago.
Yeah. Right.
This is one of the benefits, is we can go on as long as we like. And normally it would be more like 20 minutes.
Totally.
Right.
It's actually really fun.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'll play us out.
Good night.
Nice.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you, Gwen.
Pleasure.
Thank you.